But actually, I guess the other disclaimer. This kind of does get in, not kind of. This definitely gets into the territory of good old fashioned divisiveness, especially male and female divisiveness. But we've been good. We're the one of the few platforms where the even if we bump into debates, we're usually there's not usually some of the typical divisive, annoying debates that people have back and forth. So we get one here and there. So salute to the Joe Budden podcast and all the hosts on it. They have, I mean, obviously there's no need for me to come on here and gas up the Joe Budden podcast. It's literally that podcast, and just like any good podcast space, they bump into you know lively discussions, and all for the sake of good content, right? So in this particular also, I don't know if he's just doing some good amount of co-hosting, but also Mark Lamont Hill was on this podcast, and I think it was like at least one other podcast they were on recently. And I always give salutes to Michael Lamont Hill, one of the few brothers in the world of quote unquote politics that I do um, mind, if not enjoy, hearing their thoughts and views on some things. They're definitely a well researched brother, and they're able to operate in spaces from freaking CNN to the Joe Budden podcast. But anyway, so yeah, in this particular clip, and we won't watch the entire thing, but we won't bore you up the entire. Obviously, if you want to go see the Joe Budden podcast, go watch that. But make sure you watch our podcast first. They're talking about accountability, and specifically from what I was gathering from it, which of the sexes struggles with taking accountability more, least? Which of the sexes is less likely to take accountability, basically, male or female? Um, so I think start actually around like. So that's good if I'm in control sometime. I don't know. Start like 2 minutes. I think it was definitely like in the middle of the video where we get to this burst. It was before Mel started spoken. Melissa Ford, that is. So I guess go back 130. You can already hear the.
Does it make sense to just start at the beginning for
All
context?
right, start at the beginning, but just make sure we gotta pause so we're not just watching their content. Go ahead. Sorry for the annoyance, Ace. See, now the thing's bugged. Gotta refresh the page. Freaking X. I guess we should have gave definitely a sound level warning. Might want to turn that down on even on our end a bit, Ace. But yeah, like I said, definitely, as you can hear, a very spirited and slightly emotional debate going on here of who takes accountability, who's less likely to take accountability, and it definitely seems like there's obviously folks in the room that are saying women don't take accountability, and salute to Mark Hill. He's providing that stance of people in general struggle with taking accountability, which I guess just to get a sense of how our room's feeling. And again, there's a bigger topic to discuss here, but does anyone want to put their hat in the ring of that particular type of topic? If is there any particular sex they feel struggles with accountability?
Um.
It's,
Uh.
it's fine if you don't. I think it's better if you don't actually. Let them do the debating.
Yeah.
um,
We'll let it play.
okay, let it keep going. So again, and doing a podcast, I can relate and understand. Obviously, I don't think we ever get to the point where I mean we have. I mean, we don't these days. We don't get to the point where we're yelling at each other like this.
We are not
But
anywhere close. We were never anywhere close, even when we had our biggest disagreements. Because
but I can still understand when you're trying to get your point across, and it definitely seems like people are either not understanding you, like damn near intentionally or unintentionally, you're saying your point and you're trying to be as concise as possible, but someone's still saying something that just like, well, so you're saying this, so you're saying that this must be this, and I'm guilty of this too. So I'm not just saying like any one of us or anyone on here tries to spin like that, but I definitely think I have empathy with this type of discussion and how it can evolve into something like this. But yeah, like you guys are hearing, it's definitely evolving into so the one side trying to say, it's people in general that can struggle with accountability or have negative qualities, but some people are pretty stuck on. No, well, if you actually look at it, it's more likely to be women that struggle with accountability. And I think it's safe to say none of us are like naive to the. I think that is a relatively, how should I say, that's not an uncommon thing to hear. Or is anyone lost on that? We
Right,
all
right, right, yeah.
okay. We've all heard that women accountability is like kryptonite to women. But anyway, let's keep
You
going.
just throwing these takes out here, huh?
I'm just saying what
I'm
exists
joking.
in this world.
Oh,
What the hell do you
I'm sorry. I tried to pause and I clicked the
just keep
bar
your finger on
down
the
there.
pause button? Anyway, so yeah, like I said, it does get a little spicy, and but damn near at this point, I'm an expert at podcasting too. Podcast 101. If you are gonna try to like be shady, it often is better if you like if I'm gonna say like, hey, on this podcast, one of us be tweaking, and I'm gonna say, and his name starts with G and it ends with T. I'm like, when you play that like super shady game, that's when people now you're gonna like intensify situations. So I would definitely give this brother points off because you know what you're doing. You were like that. That's just trying to create controversial content for the sake of it. You gotta just be direct. You're still get good content. But go ahead, play it.
Mm.
To be honest,
All right.
I think we get it. I think at this point, or maybe it's a little after. Also, like as the captain says, Melissa Ford actually ends up walking off. I'm sure they come back. I haven't watched the entire podcast, but I'm positive they come back at some point. But yeah, they walk off because again, sometimes when you're having those heated conversations, you do get a little. If I keep standing next to this person, I might swing on them. So it's completely understandable. But again, so to the Joe Rogan podcast, they know how to make content over there. And a lot of people laugh about the part because they have a bunch of people on the podcast. I think you might not see everybody, but I think even in this clip of what we're watching, at least 5 people were speaking, sometimes over each other, but they still managed to create good content. But anyway, like I said, we are going to be just a little eeny beeny tiny weeny bit toxic potentially. And what do you guys think of this type of this type of dialogue that they're getting into? Specifically, what it boils down to, they're basically assigning a negative trait to one of the sexes. And while we typically like to avoid it, let's come in here and just have a nice, open, honest discussion. Maybe we can use it to better ourselves or the better understand why the respective sexes bump into these type of issues. But basically, are you on this type of timing where y'all think that there is inherent negative qualities that the respective sexes possess?
Not specifically accountability.
If you believe accountability is one of them, have a blast. I
Mm.
guess I'll start. I'm throwing myself to the fire a lot this podcast, but for women, um, I don't really know what specific adjective to classify this as. I was thinking about it earlier. Maybe you could say it's a tendency, like a bit more narcissistic. I know that's the true word. Uh, Viewpoint, but basically one thing I've definitely observed with the women Dang, this already sounds toxic. Is that whenever, not whenever, but a lot of there'll be some times where you are uh talking about a generic point, um whether it be negative or whatever the case may be, and they'll bring it back to themselves. Um, just for a random example, um, yeah, from what I've noticed or from what data says, a lot of women these days like to spend money on frivolous things. And then you'll be talking to a woman, well, what do you mean? I don't spend money on frivolous things. And they'll kind of, there'll be that type of, you'll bump into that type of discussion. Like, you'll say something relatively general and they'll bring it back to themselves. Um, and I've noticed that with quite a bit of women in my experience. And then for men, there's like the kind of obvious, but we don't necessarily talk about the not unintended, but then the unintended. I guess I'll just still reflect about where the unintended consequence of that. Men are more likely to be sexual deviant or get into that type of mode or behavior. Especially, not especially, but you see that a shit ton these days with a lot of these. Again, going back to streamers, it's kind of like becoming its own like culture of just saying like these weird random uh things whenever you see a woman pop up on the screen, and it's just predominantly men driving that. um so yeah, I would say those are some things. Also, uh this is one where I probably could say it's reflective of both sexes, but also men really are can be annoying when it comes to communicating certain small things. um so yeah, that's also one of the negative qualities about men. But yeah, see, that's not that bad. What y'all got? What do y'all think are some?
You say that, but we ain't got a woman on the pod to
Yeah,
refute.
you don't have a Mel.
Well, first of all, um, yeah, I don't think we need a woman to refute something that I'm saying. If it's reflective of what I'm saying, then or reflects with reality, then it's reflective reality. Second of all, we're not here to debate necessarily.
Yeah, so we aren't, but I think Ghost's point is it may have turned into a big debate if we had a woman on the pod, similar to what happened
and
with the
and
Joe
then
Budden.
and then I would just say I'm not debating. Go have a blast. Anyway, what do y'all think? We'll start with you, Gus. What do you think? I guess if any, maybe you're of the belief that humans are just humans. But do you think there's any inherently negative traits or behaviors that the sexes possess?
uh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot.
There's a
I
lot.
think there's a lot. Yeah, but I think it's a lot more measured than people would like to believe or imply. There are a lot of subtleties. Again, I guess just name one for woman in general. I'd say a tendency to focus on smaller things or slights and hold on to them for a longer time or perceive them in a way that they weren't meant to be perceived just because you're reading into it too much. Like grudging to a small extent. Just
Oh, like you're saying, women are more likely to hold grudges.
yes.
That's a generally held belief.
This is when I say this, I'm
See, and this is
thinking
why I
more
don't think
like
that's why I don't, that's why
inter.
and that's why I don't think we need a woman on here to necessarily debate this stuff. Aren't men more vindictive?
Well, when I when I say grudges, I'm thinking more interpersonal relationships between people that you are friendly with or you are in a relationship with, and that you know, and then they do things against you, whether purposefully or on accident. And I think it takes women generally a longer time to let that go than it does with men. And you could say that, yeah, men can be more vindictive when it comes to certain things, as far as like won't stop until they get their revenge, blah blah blah. But yeah, that's what I would say. And then
So
on the
by that
male,
lo- so by that logic goes,
man, not that
because
I okay. I'll let you continue, but would you just literally talk about, oh, we don't got a debate, and then
yeah,
I'm mostly I'm mostly joking, but
but then you said something I want to come on and debate on. What's
oh,
wrong? So are you
all
by that
right,
so by that
continue,
logic,
continue.
are you saying that men are more likely to forgive?
I'd
I
say
think what
men are
he's
more
saying
likely
is
to not care or
right,
forget,
right.
and like
The
not take
threshold
things
is
as
higher for the
personally.
things that men would actually want to do something about.
Yeah.
Mm, fair enough. Okay, okay. I'm rocking.
On the male side, I think men are more likely to have pride and ego that is detrimental to their relationships and everyday life, and just like approaching certain things, getting into certain situations that a woman might be more inclined to like be smart and let it go, where men will feel the need to enforce their pride or not let something stand when you really should, and there's no real justification for you to pursue it, but again, because of their pride, you just stand on it, and it can really hurt you in the long run. So yeah, that's what I would say. Again, a lot of this stuff, it's like there's a lot more nuance. I think there's a lot of things that men and women both struggle with for respected to their sexes, but more subtle. People just like to make it some blanket thing. Like, I'm not saying that women don't have pride issues at all, or men are just prideful and women are spiteful. Give and take. I don't think there's anything wrong with calling attention to things, and I get taking offense if a blanket uh, characteristic or quality is assigned to an entire gender, including yourself. But some stuff is true. I'll say that.
Yeah, obviously that's all going to be like the disclaimer because obviously we're saying it, but it's up to you to believe us. But we obviously don't. When we have this discussion, this conversation, there's no weird and malice. Like we're not coming in here to like bash women or bash men. We're just giving like relatively, if not objective, things that society pretty much is a consensus on it, and there's nothing wrong. Like there's nothing wrong acknowledging things that uh, are widely perceived or known by a group. Um, yeah, it doesn't mean every last person, every last man falls into the category, or every last woman falls into the category. But what I will say is, while I agree with what you said about men, didn't you just say in the same vein that women are less likely to let things go? So neither sex is letting things go. Is that what I heard?
Uh, Say that again. I'm kind of not even understanding what you're.
You said at first you said
Who
women
was
don't
gonna
let
say
things
Oh, okay.
go,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
and then you said men don't let things go. So who's not letting
So
things go here?
I guess to give examples to kind of relate to how what point I meant. Like, uh, a woman will be out with a dude.
Okay,
I'll give you the
paint,
small scale. Be out with a dude.
you paint a picture
A
for us.
dude says something that she doesn't like. Uh,
Such as
he makes a generalization about a personality trait that she has. Like, oh, you always be I always be asking if you want to go do this, and you say you never want to. And
okay, so they're indecisive. Okay,
yeah, and then a woman might dwell on it a little longer, and it might become an argument or something that where the man might have meant it as an innocuous comment. A woman takes it more seriously than it was meant.
calling somebody indecisive is innocuous.
This is an example
That doesn't mean I
to
can't respond to
remind
it.
you,
That doesn't mean I can't respond to it.
and
But sorry, go ahead.
it could have been meant in a way that's like joking or not serious from the man's perspective, and then it translates into the woman taking it personally, and it evolves into an argument. And even if the argument is like the dude says, we're out having a good time, we don't got to get into this now, and she's like, yeah, sure, whatever, and it ends up she has that feeling of annoyance and dissatisfaction that carries over for the next few hours. Again, this is a very small scale, and just a kind of example, I think, of it could become something more serious where you end up divorcing because the man and woman can't communicate something properly, and this grudging taking on going on that's for something that's happened years ago, and it was never discussed and never communicated, and the dude didn't think it was a big deal, the woman did, and it ends up morphing into something more serious. On the flip side, for a man, you are out with your wife, and a dude looks at your wife and says something to her, and you obviously have the inclination to say, "Hey, this is my woman, blah blah blah. Keep your eyes to yourself." And dude is rolling 10 deep with his friends, and he says something slick to you. A lot of dudes would be inclined to defend their woman's honor, get their ass beat for no reason when they could have just walked off because of a pride thing. Like no one's it. When I say I'm not saying like you shouldn't have a sense of pride or defend your partner, but it can be something where like it's just dumb and done for the sake of you want to be tough, and then you get your ass beat, you get a concussion, and also like again, this is a general example, but that's kind of what I meant for each aspect of the relationship. And then like it doesn't even need to be something like that. It could be your wife is telling you something that is right, but you don't want to acknowledge that she's right because you're the man of the house, and you don't need to be taking nothing from no one or listen to anything from no one, and your pride won't let you acknowledge that yeah, you're not right in this instance, and you need to take a look at your actions, but you don't want to do that, and then that prideful spirit ends up leading to you like not wanting to talk to your wife, or it leads to division in the relationship because you can't let go and admit that you were wrong about something.
I don't know if you're hearing what I'm hearing too, Ace. I mean, and I don't want to like belabor anything, but don't both of those instances sound like pride, like not letting things go, like both sexes are able to have this same negative issue with just regarding different things.
Didn't what I literally said was that there's a lot more subtlety in generalizations, or not a lot more subtlety in things that people say are exclusive for men and women. So I gave two separate examples in my mind with two different flaws, but they do have roots, I guess, in pride, you could say. I'm not trying to be super. That's my whole point. Where yes, there are certain
So
things.
wouldn't you could have just saved all this example stuff and just say actually the two sexes share the same negative thing, and I don't agree that that sexes have inherent negative traits.
Well, I don't believe that because there's
But you brought up an example of one in which they
two different things. Yes, they're kind of
that
related.
both
They're
stem
flaws.
from the same general negative concept.
So I have to think of off the top of my head a completely opposite different thing. Like you
Wait,
gonna make me
didn't you
walk
say?
off the pod now.
We wouldn't be able to tell if you did, by the way, but it's um I am somewhat being annoying for the sake of it. I generally do understand what you're saying, and I think that you do make a very valid point in the sense that uh, women can be more likely to not let go small things, and men because of pride of ego will create larger issues over things that if they put aside their pride and ego would not evolve and would not escalate. It's completely understandable. Ace, how about yourself? You think the sexes have inherently negative uh, traits, qualities, characteristics?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know if inherently is the correct word, like whether it's specifically based on the sex or it is the societal norms that result in these things being kind of passed down. But
Well,
either
yeah,
way, like
we do generally mean like the men and women from our respective like area of life, like states across the
yeah,
world.
right. So yeah, with that in mind, my two examples would be negative trait for women, um, generally tending to like to gossip, and just
Mm.
talk about people uh, behind each other's backs. Um, I've seen this more so with women. I don't think it's a good thing. Well, I guess Ghost likes to do it too. No, I'm just
Whoa, that's a wild
Wait,
joke,
wait, what?
Snubs.
I don't get
I
it.
just said it because of last week. You wanting to know so bad.
Bro, what? That's not. No. Y'all
Okay,
brought it up.
you
That's
know
the
what's crazy?
You brought it up. So Faith think you're gossiping. What you mean?
No.
I want to know because I can't have something brought up.
You know
And
what?
No, you said something
bro,
specifically like you want to know the juicy
I'm just
details.
the
Yeah.
that
juicy
doesn't.
detail
Nah,
is
no, no,
wild.
no. If you hadn't brought it up, I wouldn't have been asking.
I'm
So
just
do y'all
laughing at the
remember
fact
that
that
situation years?
I'm just laughing at
That's
the fact that you said
crazy.
it was a joke, but there's gonna be a joke that's always going to escalate. Like there's no way Ghost is gonna let that slide. There's no way that was gonna happen.
Just throw it out there. If anything,
Oh
yo, bro,
my
you brought it
god.
up in the first place. This wasn't me saying this out of
I don't even
nowhere.
remember what was this. It was something about
It
something
was
for
it
the
was
cyber
because I
service.
was you know how I am when y'all someone brought something up and said, "Oh, remember this situation? Actually, you know what? I can't
Yeah.
say it on air." And then I was like, "I mean, what was the situation? Because you can't bring it up and not
Yes, we
expand."
understand the general concept of humans don't like when
Apparently, we don't. Ace doesn't. I guess. I
uh,
guess I'm just the odd gossip.
No, because you also
oh, and
said
here we go. Dig into it.
you thought that we had something like uh I don't remember what your word was, not necessarily
Yeah, it
negative,
probably
but
wasn't
something
like
that
worth the
Please
anticipation.
don't say juicy again. That's nasty.
No,
no, I mean it was similar to that. I can't remember what you said, but you didn't think it was something good. Like you thought it was something bad that we knew
it was
that you
something that
didn't
I
know,
already knew
and you
about and that
wanted
I
to,
thought
but
was minor.
you
Guys,
wanted to
remember what the
know
topic is.
because you thought it was a bad thing.
Let's not forget what the topic at hand is.
I want when there was
Well,
all this build up, all this lead up, in my mind, I have a proportional level of what I think is going to be discussed, and when it doesn't meet that level, I'm like, I don't know if disappointed is the right word, but why would
yeah,
you
but
build it
what did
up
you
if it
like?
wasn't
That's
worth
the
it?
thing. Like you, you, you wanted something. You wanted to hear something
I
that
want to be
wasn't
entertained.
good. Exactly.
No, it
That's
didn't
what
have to
I
be
consider.
bad. It just had to be entertaining, and it wasn't entertaining.
guys, come on. Come on.
Anyway,
Finish
that was
this.
the negative for women, and then for men, oh shoot. Oh, just generally not um like holding things in, not necessarily wanting or being open to discussing like you know challenges that they're going through in life, whether it be mental or um physical, like work, things like that. Like I think men tend to hold these things in more than women.
Um, um, yeah, no, I definitely agree with that second one. It's kind of fed into what I was saying, about how like for some reason when it comes to communication, especially like relatively small things, maybe even large things, as you're kind of saying, um, like men just don't. You got to pull it out of the guy sometimes. Um, the only reason why I didn't necessarily fully go in the direction of that, like fully what you're full on saying, do you think that's an inherently negative thing? Like
Um,
depending on the space and like the way it can be made a case for, I think sometimes men won't come forward with things because of the way there's a gen. I mean, we talked about this. Like men can't fully express what they're feeling, or they can't. Yeah, they can't fully express what they're feeling. However they want to express it in our society. Um, just because of the perception of men. So I don't. I
no,
don't.
I mean, I don't think it's. I think it is negative because, like, if we equate it to women being able to do it, in my mind, it's like they're doing it with people um that are like their friends and things like that. It's not just like women are just like in my mind again they're not just blabbing or just allowing themselves to be emotional uh in public or things like that for the most part. So if men were able to do it to again like be more open with their close knit group of friends like that, I don't think that would be a bad thing at all.
And I do know the answer, but you don't think guys can go to other guys or go to other guys when they're going through that?
For the most part, no. I think dudes definitely tend to hold stuff in.
Hmm. Yeah, like I said, I know the answer, and that does tend to be true. Which if y'all ever take anything, not y'all's and y'all, but y'all in the audience, ever takes anything from me as it pertains to advice, because obviously since we're all sort of predominantly men here, probably men would hear it. If you are going through something as a man, it sucks to say. We're talking about sexes. I don't typically recommend going to it to women in your life, especially women that look up to you for some level of like leadership or guidance or resources. Don't definitely don't go to them. Who you go to is your homeboys. So while Ace is 100% right that there is a lot of bottling in within men. If you are going to something, you definitely got to go to your close circle of other guys. Fathers, uncles, grandpas, if you have them. You definitely got to go that direction. Uh,
Uh, just to be clear, I don't
yeah.
co-sign that at all. I think that's a really bad take, actually. But I mean, if
Why?
you want to listen to
Hmm.
Quest, listen to
Well,
Quest.
why would you ask why?
Why?
Now, why are you asking why? It's gonna be up to me. I
I'll
said
I'll
they.
keep it basic.
No, because I
Oh,
because I agreed. So
okay. All right,
Like
go ahead.
you're saying you shouldn't be talking to your wife about stuff.
No, not negative things. Uh,
Dreadfully awful take. I will leave it at that. Awful, awful
well,
take.
you didn't expound. You didn't answer why. But anyway, you just got more clarification. I, I guess to give a full, even though I'm not, I really don't have to give full, but to give a general full like context. If you are going to go to your with your significant other, it should be from a place of there's a solution attached to it, or the solution, or it's already resolved.
Yeah, so
By the way,
you're going through something and you're saying that you shouldn't share with your wife who should literally be your one body, one flesh, and
uh,
instead
t-
talk to someone
to be
that
to be honest, because there is a level of experience and just general like, uh, well, there's always exceptions to rules. This is like I would definitely implore men to go by this. We can have this conversation. And maybe it's even worth going on a podcast. I mean, I don't know if it's more worth off and then having it on the podcast. But if we were going to it now, it'd probably like it'd probably take a while. But yeah, while Well, I'm never here to force something on somebody. It's like this is like a lot of truth into it. And while it sounds good, it's one of those things that sounds good, but in practice there is some like level harsh reality to it. And again, I don't. The solution is actually not even a negative thing. Like if you have and you should have men in your life they can go to for these things, you're going to get a better result by far.
That sounds like a great way to have communication problems in your marriage. Just saying, in my opinion. But yeah, we don't gotta get into it now.
Hey man, again, there's definitely ways to handle it, but I'm telling you, it's not gonna work out. But
Well,
yeah,
just to state where I stand, um, I was just thinking of it more so in terms of, and not in terms of marriage. I don't know necessarily that I agree on marriage, but or somebody that's married and communicating to their woman, because generally, like my brain is 100% communication, but at the same time, Quest is not advocating for holding things in and not communicating. It's more so um, who you're going to with a problem and trying to find a solution and communicating the solution.
What if there's no solution?
what do you mean there's no solution? As a man,
Yeah,
you gotta create a
Oh,
solution. What
oh,
do you mean?
yeah,
oh!
exactly.
I'm upset because one of my parents is going to die. There's no solution for that, and you're not
What
going
do
to
you
share that
mean
with your
there's no
spouse.
solution?
What's the
Wait,
solution? They
what?
die? What?
Jesus Christ!
Chill, Ghost. What? Ghost, please.
Let's all settle. Let's
Please.
all settle down.
Why are you going off right now? Trying to,
like,
This is
I'm,
crazy
I
to
don't
me.
even understand what you're
let's all
positing.
settle down. I get this is why it is more of a like a conversation that would take like it's has multiple layers because no one said in no scenario in which you are feeling down about something you don't communicate that to your significant other. No one's saying that.
Now
We're,
we're getting the qualifiers. There
You're
wasn't
saying something that's
qualifiers.
kind of insane. Like
Okay,
you
okay,
think
okay. Sorry.
Ghost is
you're,
saying,
you're
and
saying
you
something
think
that nobody
Quest is
said is the
saying,
problem.
All right,
if
Ace.
you're
What did you in this example? I don't understand what you even meant. So maybe
a
I
lot of a lot of the
misinterpreted.
examples you brought up were like if you're going through struggles with your job or if like
yeah,
something's
what are we
like if
talking
something's
about?
like happening in life that there is a resolution for it.
Yeah, go to your male friend
But
and
I
discuss.
said, what if there's not a solution? There's not always gonna be a solution to
You
something.
can still discuss it and get consolation or um advice on like how to just handle the thing emotionally as opposed to being alone in it.
But you wouldn't. What? My whole
Or
point is that you shouldn't be. I'm not saying you should be alone. I'm saying you should be talking to your wife.
again, so are we talking
I'm
about
just
the man and
supremely
wife or are we talking about
okay. I'm what I was
general?
talking about. I'm talking about the bed. I am not advocating for holding anything in. I'm saying because the whole thing is that you should be talking to someone else, being another brotherly, fatherly figure in your life before you talk to your wife, unless or until you have a solution in mind, and then you can go through it with them. That's what I think is I don't agree with. So when I brought up the whole parents dying thing, I was coming from the perspective of there's something that there's not a solution
It
for,
Well,
and
I
there's
think that I
no.
think that gives you more like some context to what we're talking about. If
Right.
you would go to somebody to get some guidance, some advice, somebody that's going to fully or be able to further empathize with what you're going through, and then give some like you said, just one of the best people you can talk to. That's where the element of something you would go to somebody to talk to about when it's more solution based, and then if once there is a solution or path to a solution, then you can go to your significant others because you'll still have some level of reassurance, which was one of the tenements of what you have to do as a man. You have to provide reassurance. If it's something where there is no solution and you are generally just feeling a level of grief or dismay or sorrow, no one's saying don't go to your significant other with that. obviously your significant other is just they're gonna understand. Like no one's saying if you're and I don't even like these conversations because I don't like putting that stuff in the universe. But if someone close to you pass, no one's saying don't tell your wife. Like, hey, you're gonna find out in the obituary. Like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And obviously, people are just gonna generally understand someone's close to you pass, you're going to feel sorrow anyway. But there's nothing wrong with conveying that you feel sorrow. Like,
So you're saying if it's only solution based or problem solution based, and if you can find a solution, and only until you find the solution, you talk to your wife or another female figure in your life.
that's predominantly what it is. Like
All right.
like they
Okay.
said
I still strongly. So your wife wouldn't have a solution then,
well,
potentially.
I like how I said
You would have worked through it with them, like.
and if maybe
You don't think that they would
maybe
take offense if
and maybe
why do
you
you
guys
keep
don't be knowing
doing
like the
that?
time. I'm like literally looking at the 2 hour plus mark, but either way, you're not gonna say something I'm not gonna respond to if there's a relatively concise response I can give, but also we can get into it more in depth at a later point in time. Um, no one's saying that the 100% of the time your wife won't be able to give you solutions or your significant other. No one's saying that. Um, yeah, no one's saying that it is 100% of the time if there is a solution or not. Like I said, there is times where like going to a male or somebody in life like that can kind of help you do a process you're dealing with and kind of put you in a better mental state, so that when you go home you can address that in a more sound way or whatever the case may be. So it's definitely dependent on the context, and yeah, this is obviously a heavily contextual conversation. But in general, yes, you when you're going through something, you're gonna want to go to you're gonna want to go to a male. It is what it is. Like, I'm sorry, and again, it's pretty like 90-ish% of the time. This is what
Like,
you're gonna want to do.
I understand why you're saying this, but I feel like the core reason of why you're saying it, not to say is it justified or not justified, is a trust thing. Because a lot of the times, just generally speaking, I think you are correct in that women might be a little less receptive than you think than men when it comes to certain things because you have a role as provider and all that. However, if at the end of the day, like it's really, if you don't trust the person to not have a certain reaction and you don't feel comfortable with talking to them about it in lieu of somebody else, no matter what the gender, no matter what the relationship, that's it's somewhat of a problem because you don't trust the person like you could.
It's not a
That's
trust
really.
thing. I think
Yeah.
that's
How is it not?
not a
How is it
trust
not?
thing.
How is it not a trust thing? Please
It's
tell
not.
me that. Please tell me that.
It's. You're saying it's like you don't trust the person to have a to be able to have a
No,
solution.
you don't
That's
trust.
not. Oh, go ahead. What do you?
I'm sorry. I'm at the core. The reasons why you're saying this, which are valid reasons in some respects, I'm guessing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that
You're wrong. Like, you already said it, and you're wrong. You don't have to repeat it. Like you said, like you were saying before our house, we don't have to revisit some of these things. You're wrong. It's not a trust thing.
all right? That
Or even if you would want to say it's a trust thing, it's like I'm trusting what is what was like the general concept of how the sexes can help people deal with
you're
things. Like,
afraid of the response that's going to come if you tell.
there's no way you think
Yes, that's what it really boils down to.
you don't believe that that's the logic. There's a
What
fear
other
element.
what are the reasons?
I'm just telling you the thing you just said, you don't truly believe it. That's what I'm just saying.
I'm telling you that's yeah. What the reason why you're saying this is because what other reason could there be? Is that you're afraid of what will happen if you tell them? That's what it boils down to,
The
right?
reason. Okay, the reason in my head is that as the man, you want to have or be able to come to an issue with some type of well thought out level-headed solution as opposed to coming to a situation with uh just like the raw emotion or distraught. So if you are able to go to, let's say, a father figure to help you through that initial wave of emotion and um figure out, some type of proposed solution that you can come to your wife to, it's not to say that okay, now the wife has no say it's whatever you already decided. It's to say that you're coming to the situation with something that's well thought out, and again, not coming from that raw emotional. You're just trying to
I don't
process the
even. It
thing.
doesn't have to be well thought out. Just a thought out. Like,
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just
acting
you
like
put
you
some thought
can't
into it.
come with the raw emotion and then later also come with the thought out solution.
The crazy part is just
Yeah,
like
you can, but I think Quest Point
what's
is
more optimal? Like a lot of these things, I kind of want to say the raw hot take of it, but that's gonna lead to more like debating thing. Like at the end of the day, we got to understand what is optimal and what is like likely to happen and what's going to be the best for the betterment of the relationship. All this is like just you don't have trust and you interfere and just go to your wife. Like, yeah, how about Blash just going to your wife telling these issues with no solution.
You can tell them the thing that's coming from the raw emotion and then come with the solution afterwards. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, that's where I'm saying
It's
there's
not
a
gonna
lack of trust.
it's not gonna work out, dog. I'm just telling you.
Okay, okay, you're just saying that, but
No, I'm telling you, it's not gonna work. It's a low probability. You're putting yourself in low probability territory
low probability of what? Of the relationship not succeeding?
of
Of
there
her
being
not receiving it well?
more issues than
Okay,
if
what
you did the other thing.
issues being what? That is, you hear what you're saying? There's a fear of there being more issues being created from
Okay,
you taking this course of action.
all right.
Because you don't trust the. Come on, are you kidding me? You don't see what I'm saying here?
At a certain point, not even I can be roped dope. Like again, you don't believe that there's a fair,
Nah, bro.
you don't believe there's a fair element of this.
Okay, that's your argument. All right.
I mean, the argument was the concise parts of it was
I
laid out.
still haven't. Okay, I mean, we could.
Maybe the full aspects of it we can dig deeper into it, but the concise
Yeah,
parts
we
of it
could
have
move
been laid
on.
out, and
I haven't
there was
heard.
nothing there that said anything to do with fairs. That's why I don't even know what's being repeated, but it's fine. It's fine. You got it. Um, and I think that is a quintessential example of why conversations about men, even the general conversations about men and women, are no good because they dissolve into what was it? What were they talking about in the podcast? Who even knows at this point? Obviously, I'm being facetious. Obviously, I do know what was we originally talking about all things pertaining to accountability and the inherent negative qualities, characteristics, and traits that the respective sexes hold. And want to hear from you guys. Damn, there's no cool way to say that, huh? What do you guys think? What do you guys
There's
think
no
of?
cool way to plug.
What do you guys
Just
think
don't even
of?
say it. Let people in the comments if they want to comment. People are
What do
gonna
you
forget.
What do you guys think? We want to hear from you guys in the comments, any and all. But if there's nothing else, and there is a lot else we could go into, but for the sake of time, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to the next topic.